Alrighty, welcome everyone. I'm Teeaboo, and I'm here today for Goblin Slayer episode 3. Last time on Sloblin Glayer? Well, I was craving plot. I wanted plot. I wanted something. Something besides, yes, this character's a badass and guts and gore. And shock value primarily for marketing purposes. I understand now, thanks to some of your comments, that goblins use rape of humans to reproduce, and so it's sort of like a necessary thing for them. And the episode was also to show just how bad goblins are. However, I still stand by my statement that it was primarily a marketing move. It was calculated. Calculated. Shoutouts to... Who is that? Wait. Nuts Gaming. D's Nuts. Yo, his videos are dope. I'm gonna rewatch his videos because he edits the fuck out of them. Wait, okay, does he beat Gundyr at the end of this? Because if he does...
Yo, that's one of my first tries on a boss.
Yeah, it's got the Kill la Kill theme in the background.
Yo. Clutch Master Steph. Yo.
Hit him with that boy.
I hit him with the boy. Hard time with blood.
There we go.
Calculated.
Yep.
I'm the only one with
calculated. Okay, well, that was a waste of time. Anyway, shoutouts to Nuts Gaming for calculated. If you haven't seen his Dark Souls, can a Dark Souls virgin beat Dark Souls 3 series, and you're looking for something to watch through real quick, or like for 12 hours, watch those videos, because they're worth it. He put the work in, man. They are calculated. Anyway, yeah, it was a calculated move. And, like, that's not dissing it. That's not bad. It's just, it's calculated. It was mechanical. It was going through the motions to produce a specific reaction from viewers. And that reaction was, oh my god, have you seen Goblin Slayer? It's so brutal. They're so graphic and explicit. Controversy. That's what it was attempting to do, and you know, good on them. They did it. Success. Ding. And of course, what that produces is whenever there's a backlash against something like this, right, or a controversy around it, there's another side to the argument. The other side to the argument is like, hey, go on YouTube, type in Goblin Slayer, like, I don't know, controversy. You'll find a few hundred videos with hundreds of thousands of views on them, all saying things with titles like, to all the people who think Goblin Slayer is controversial, to all the people who didn't like Goblin Slayer, or, right? Creates a conversation going on, right? And that means more eyes on the page. More eyes on Goblin Slayer itself, because you find out that this controversy is happening, and you start to FOMO, fear of missing out. You start to FOMO. You're like, I'm missing out on a big conversation. I've got to go watch Goblin Slayer. Let me watch Goblin Slayer. Oh, that was horrible. It was so rapey. Oh, God, no. Or, oh, I don't see what the problem with that was. That was just set up for a cool character. And, like, this is a violent world. Whatever side you fall under, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You've already fallen into the trap. You've activated the trap card. It's a trap. Like, it doesn't make it a bad thing, but you've fallen for it. It's marketing. It's brilliant marketing. It's good marketing. But as soon as you're like, I wonder what this is about. Ta-da! They've done their job. Success. And literally success, because there are thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people who would not have seen this show otherwise and will see this show now. And that's money in the pockets of the people who made it. So it was a good financial decision by the company. However, it was not necessarily a good story decision, or a good decision for the quality, as far as I'm concerned, as I judge it, of the show. Because, as I've learned from the comments, they cut out a lot of stuff. And It's the stuff that I actually want to see. The stuff that gives a little bit of depth to it. So for example, I've gotten like 3 dozen identical comments all telling me that no, you cannot just flick blood off of a sword, or other things, like the sword is actually totally covered in goblin fat. The sword is chipped and dulled by killing goblins. Okay, that's great. That's great. I get it. I get it. There can be explanations for why you would not be able to simply flick the blood off of your sword. That said, we didn't get that. I can only react to what I'm given. I can only comment on what I'm given. I have not read the manga. I can only react to what I'm given. And what I was given was, it's got too much blood on it. What's the exact quote? Let's go find the exact quote. It's worth it for this. Let's go find. Yep. Rape. Yep. He fucks up. Rape. Goblin Slayer. Oh wait, not yet. More rape. Sloblin Glayer. Alright. Death metal intro, and then. Yep. Goblin Slayer. Also, I get it now. They do not have names. They have titles that are to do with their profession. So it hasn't been mentioned explicitly, but I assume she's something like priestess. Yeah, no shit. There's nowhere else safe. Okay. Doing this. Doing that. It was... Okay, he's still using the sword. Here we go. Okay, first off, everyone who said it's completely covered in guts and gore and goblin blood and blah 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 blah. Ahem. It's fucking clean, except for the tip. That's what's given to us, that's what's shown. It's clean, except for the tip. It's shiny. It's fucking shiny. Practiced a lot. What about your sword? It's useless now. Quote, too much blood on it. We didn't get, it's completely covered in goblin fat. We got a clean looking sword with no dings or scratches or dents or fat or blood on the handle or the majority of the blade, just the tip. And only blood. There's only solid colored red. There it is. It's right there. It's glowing in the firelight. It's glimmering. I'm not trying to argue this point. I'm just pointing out that there is nothing that implies any of the extra detail that you have given me in the comments, which I appreciate. I appreciate that. And I appreciate knowing that there is that extra detail in the manga. Nice. Good. Great. It's not here. Why isn't it here? It could have been. It should have been. But it ain't. If it had, I probably wouldn't have said what I had. Said what I did. Clean sword. So that's why this was like, what? 1, doesn't look like there's too much blood on it, and 2, what? Like, he just got finished saying that the other sword, which he then picks up and ends up using, is not an effective weapon in this cave. That one is. What? I mean, there's only blood on the tip of it. Flick it. Or wipe it off on a goblin. The true answer is, they didn't have the time in this episode. They had to include all the rape, all the goblin setup, all of Goblin Slayer being cool, and her voiceovers. They had to include all of that because it had to be one complete package of brutal and wondering. Brutal and nothing else, so you just wonder. You just wonder what's next, and you click on episode 2. Alright. Rant, sorry, but look, I know that some of you are pissed at me for like saying what I said, but I'm gonna stand by it at this point. In the material that we are given, not the source material of the manga, I get that it's a separate thing, and they can be reviewed separately. The anime that is being made out of it is being made for financial reasons. All anime are business. This is a product. It is a product. Every show is a product. This one, it's just the veil of this is art, or whatever you want to think of it as, is a bit thin. It's just a bit thin. The machinery behind the scenes shows through. That's all. It shows through. So, go ahead and dislike, unsubscribe, and ignore my Patreon forever. I don't care. Like, more power to you. But, this is what we got. This is what we have to talk about as this thing. And it is what it is. I don't hate it. I don't even really have a problem with it. Like, I get it. It's marketing. It's for a purpose. It's done pretty well for that purpose. It's been successful. It's succeeded at its goals. I still want some plot. We got a little bit. We got a glimmer. We got a glimmer in episode 2. And you guys have let me know that, yes, there should be more forthcoming. I certainly hope so. I do certainly hope so. We are going to be introduced to the rest of the gang. I assume that they are going to be the gang. I can't think of a clever name for them as a group. Slayer Squad. Whatever. Elf, there's a big dude with like a lizard tail thing who looks like a druidy type. I don't know what he is. And I think there was an old dude drinking. I don't remember that well. We'll see once we get through the OP. So they're arriving. We got an interesting little world building thing, which was that there was a bard in some other city who was singing songs about the Goblin Slayer. He's actually pretty famous, which is kind of interesting because he is not terribly well respected by other adventurers. Because he only slays goblins. He's got a one-track goblin slaying mind. What's the name? I don't have a problem with that. That works fine. We got some backstory on him. And some relationships that he has with Boobs-chan, who I have learned is named Cowgirl, which might as well be Boobs-chan. It has utterly identical implications. I'm gonna keep calling her Boobs-chan, I think. Since we have not yet heard her called Cowgirl, I'm gonna call her Boobs-chan. Because Boobs-chan is actually kind of fun to say. Oppai-chan! Yeah. So we got that, and we got her dad. Her dad does not like Goblin Slayer as much as she does, but they were childhood friends. And she left one day to go to the city with her dad, do some stuff, and they had not a pleasant conversation at the end. He was just a dick for no real reason, but it's sort of implied later that the reason was because he couldn't go with them, and he was just being a dick about that. Like, okay. We meet his sister for a few seconds, and then we find out later through his monologue, which is good, best thing that we've seen so far, IMO, through his monologue that he, while she was gone to the city, his town was attacked by goblins, and it didn't go well. There were no goblin slayers around to slay the goblins. So, everybody dead. And he watched in hiding, holding his breath, while his sister was dragged out and her clothes torn off and raped near to death and then killed by goblins. So that instilled a bit of hatred, little bit of vengeance, a little bit of fire in him. And so he started to kill goblins, and he started to learn how best to kill goblins, and he started to think only about killing goblins, and he started to kill so many goblins that he began to enjoy killing goblins, and become obsessed with killing goblins, and become Goblin Slayer. Ah, wow. So, he's actually busted. Like, he's broken in the head. He's pretty fucked up. He's got some PTSD, and a lot of rage. Whole lot of rage. Need for vengeance, bloodlust. It's who he is. He's also obsessively careful about goblins. He's paranoid is what he is. He's straight paranoid. The obsessive checking of the fences, the obsessive checking of everything, the never taking the armor off, the eating with his armor on. He's obsessed, and he's paranoid, and he is determined to never, ever, ever, ever lose anything to goblins again. Of course, he hasn't said that, but that's my assumption. There's nothing to go off of to infer that either. We need some more depth. But, yeah, that's what he does. It's who he is. It's his life. He lives, eats, breathes, sleeps, goblin slaying. Thus the name. And then Priestess Girl joins. Okay. That's what we got. There was an interesting use of a barrier spell to lock a bunch of goblins into a burning area. Pretty cool. Cruel, but cool. But that's gonna be the name of the game. You know, the nature of the beast for this show. I was in episode 1 expecting that there would be bigger bads than goblins. I don't know. We could just have goblins. We could just kill more goblins. I assumed that we're going to get more world building and characterization and characters because we have more characters coming into the fold. And so during his introduction to Priestess Girl, I don't know what she's actually called. I assume it's Priestess or something. During his introduction to her, there were things going on. It was a tense situation and not a lot of time to explain stuff and give background stuff. Not much of that. Not much time for that. There was too many goblins to kill. Too much rape to show. So perhaps when this other group arrives, their arrival will catalyze some more characters talking about themselves. Maybe. I don't know. I would like to find out, though. And so, without much further ado, let's get into it. There will be a timer. It'll be a timer in the corner, and then there will be a beep beep timer. It goes boop 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 beep, and on the beep, it's frame accurate when Crunchyroll registers me pushing the play button. Green light, same thing. Let's do it. Timer goes here. Who's doing this voiceover? Wow, we've got actual world building. Light Order and Fate. That's heavily in the OP. Yeah, the dice thing is heavily featured in this OP. So that's interesting. Hey, there's world building. There's universe building. Woo! I really do like this OP. It's quite unique. Dice. This is subbed, right? Just the way that the words are intoned makes me feel like this was written in Japanese originally. I'll look it up after. It just got that sound to it, like it wasn't quite in this language. Okay. Is he a dwarf? He's a dwarf. He's a dwarf. Okay. I think that's Archbald, right? No? No. Hello. Hello. Got a Goblin Slayer quest? So, is he like a shaman or something? Shaman druid? Because size-wise, he would be like a tank or a paladin or something similar. But the way he's voiced and his headdress makes me think that he might be a shaman or druid type. Because he said, the way he said, like, my speech, my human speech isn't very good, but he's got a very smart person voice, and he's using very, very formal language. Ha 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 ha. Ha ha ha. Well, last time that I did that. Y'all lack respect. Oh, this bitch. We've got Boobs-chan, now we've got Boobs bitch. The witch. What's up with her speech patterns? Yeah. Yes, he is. Blow a nose. Obsessively. Ooh, that's a good shot. As she goes on, her pauses get less and less frequent, so that they introduce that speech pattern to us, and then they can remove it and save time. Good. Good. Bit of depth. Some explanation from other characters. So exactly what I was hoping for. Bit of character stuff. Ah, so elves are mortal. Don't care. The world needs your help. I don't give a fuck. Good reason. Okay. Ooh. Hmm. Arrogant humans. Yep, he doesn't care. It's not about the payment for him. Yeah, I'll take priestess. Oh, spear guy. So there's apparently some little bit of depth to him. I know what happened, though. You killed a bunch of goblins. Ready to go? Learning. She's made up her mind. Oh, so they're all going with? Oh, those are vegetarians? I don't know if that's universal, but I assume so. We got it. Lembus. Who's? But it's more than wine. Some hardcore stuff. It's some moonshine. Ooh, he's drinking. He might speak. Ah, all his weapons. He has nothing except goblin killing tools. Oh, he's got cheese. Was her dagger obsidian? Melting it? No, no. Oh. Come on. Oh, the scrolls. From the witch. It has nothing to do with you. You're not a goblin. Blinders on. Goblin Slayer. Okay, a little bit more. Ah. Rape. Oh. 2 moons. What? Hmm. Hmm. Had. Damn. Moons had the same pattern of craters in them. Why was his helmet there though? Her arrows still have leaves on them. And the arrowhead is... Don't sweat it. Wait, what? The arrowhead is grown. It looks like it's... Let me know about that. If there's more detail in the manga. Good music. But it looks like the arrowhead is like a leaf bulb. like a thing. Okay, and then we get this CG ED. Just a minute and a half left. I'll watch through it. It's fine. Standard tournament type thing, and boom, nope, nope. There were a couple things that I want to go back to and check out. I've got them written down. So there were a couple of interesting shots that were good. This is the first time that there have been shots that I really wanted to look at, which is cool. And there was actually quite a bit in this episode. I would say that I got what I was hoping for. New characters arrive, introduce themselves, we get a bunch of world building because of that, and we get some depth on Goblin Slayer and on them. And how they interact, and it's starting to shape up as a party and see how they interact. Still don't know how what Lizardman is as far as class and type. Still kind of sticking with the idea that he's some kind of magic wielder of some sort, despite his imposing large frame. He doesn't seem like he's a melee fighter, he seems like he's a thinker. But we got this very interesting intro with a voice who I don't think I've heard before. I don't think it was the elf's voice. Correct me if I'm wrong, but let me go back and listen really quick. Hey, can you... Munchy Bowl, can you not be broken?
昔々、今よりも星の明かりがずっと少なかった頃。それを言ったらドワーフの女子なんて樽じゃない。
Yeah, totally different girl. Interesting. I feel like it was one of the gods or something similar that was speaking there. But we got some interesting stuff. The gods of light, order, and fate, and the gods of darkness, chaos, and coincidence decided to roll dice for the fate of the world. Which is interesting because that's a coincidence thing. Like, they're dice. But, okay, great. It might make more sense if they played a game, but dice, fine. Dice is the motif they're going with, and fine, good, great. So there's world building, there's history, there's past, the world is made to make sense. There's the GM is like telling us stuff, or the DM is like telling us stuff. Great, awesome. And we see those dice being rolled in the OP, and I believe the OP actually says stuff about dice rolls and stuff. They've all got different names for him, which is interesting. A little bit of world building there. Beard Cutter, Orkbolg, and Goblin Slayer. I don't know. I think there was a third one for the Lizardman, but I don't know. Dwarves and elves, very classic. Their ancestral foes, very classic. Set up exactly that way. Very classic. Making fun of each other for stuff. He calls her flat. She calls dwarf women look like barrels. Okay, cool. I wonder if dwarf women are bearded. Probably. And a lizard man. Beep boop. Okay, that was a different thing that just disconnected. What the fuck? Okay. Doesn't matter. And And then we get at 7-ish. We get a shot that I wanted to look at. So I couldn't quite tell how it was done in context. So let's see. Nice. Can I slow down through? No. Okay, hold on. What is connecting and disconnecting? Okay. I don't know what it was, and I'm not getting like an actual notification pop up, so I just want the sound to stop. It doesn't matter because I'll have this part cut out anyway, so it's fine. This part of the audio, at least. So I just wanted to see this shot. Yeah. It's quite well done. The pipe is traditional. I figure it has to be a CG camera in a CG space. There's one section where we slow down at the door. So there was less blur on it, and so maybe I can tell. Yeah, it's probably CG. Interesting. They've got the fisheye perspective on it. And they do this spinning of the pipe shot. It's an interesting decision, and it didn't necessarily need to be there, but the fact that it's there is visually eye-catching and good. I like it. I like it quite a bit. We get some more information. Elves in this world are immortal, but can probably be killed. There is a Demon King rising, and that's the big bad somewhere out there, but of course Goblin Slayer doesn't give a fuck. And he asks them if there are any goblin heroes or kings that have emerged, which is interesting, because I'm sure that there will be in the future, and that will be a big bad for Goblin Slayer to slay. Cool. We get some hints that Spear Guy is a character, but that's it. And she priestess girl really quite cares for Goblin Slayer. She wants to go with him. She wants to go with him. And there was a good line, not giving the other person a choice doesn't count as a discussion. You know, he's not very sociable and doesn't really have great social skills. So he has to learn that stuff. And she's teaching him that stuff, kind of, and doing it through her own stubbornness. Like, no, I'm going with you. Shut up. Which is good. It's great. But they're all going with, so that's great. We get our first outing as a party, and we're gonna get to see how they work together, and it's gonna be cool. Elves appear to be vegetarians. The lizard men do not domesticate animals, so they're I would guess socially more primitive, or in terms of social structure more primitive, more tribal, which matches his gear with the like almost feathery headdress and stuff like that. But he says something interesting about he wants to become a dragon. So can lizard men evolve? Like, you know, eat enough rare candy and level up and evolve into dragons? Because I think they've mentioned a couple times that dragons are beasts that are slain in quests. So I don't get it. It's interesting though, very interesting. Or in this context, is dragon a title amongst lizard men? Like a leader? I don't know. It seemed like he was actually talking about becoming a dragon. She gives Elf Girl gives Priestess some lembas bread. Just calling it that because that's what it is. And Dwarf gives some fire wine, and then there's some cheese from Goblin Slayer. Cool. And they all share in it, and it's kind of cute. It's a good character building scene and a good team building scene. You know, very classic. Around the fire, they're all sharing something of themselves and enjoying what each other have. It's cool. He's got some scrolls from the witch, which are being set up heavily. Like they dedicated almost a minute to it, which is a lot. a lot of time. And then there was like this whole scene with the witch talking is mostly set up for our priestess girl to make a choice to go with Goblin Slayer, which she does. So that was good setup payoff. And then there's also setup on the scroll thing, which is so that we understand what's going on and we know where those scrolls are from when we see them, which is good. Quite good. And then we get an interesting conversation about where goblins come from. There are a bunch of fairy tales. So it was used as sort of a boogeyman thing, you know. If you kids are bad, they're gonna be goblins and they're gonna come and get you. Rah! But he has a different story from his sister. And, of course, his sister died when he was just a child. So this was a story that was told to a child. And I assume it is not the truth. But it is the story that Goblin Slayer believes. And probably not going to change his mind for anytime soon. They come from the moon, the green one. Not the red one. The two moons are, they have the same pattern of craters, which, I don't know. Let me know if in the manga the two moons have identical crater patterns as well, but that doesn't make sense. Sorry, that doesn't make sense. Yeah, for fairly obvious reasons, like asteroids hit essentially at random. Asteroids and meteorites essentially hit at random, and they're two different stellar bodies. They wouldn't be hit in the same places by the same proportionally same-sized asteroids. It's just not. No. But it doesn't matter. It looks pretty cool. Why are there two moons? I don't know. Why are the two moons different colors? The way they made it look like there's different colored light reflecting off of them. They did not make it look like one of them has red dirt and the other one has green dirt. That's just the way that it appeared based on the effect that they used and the luminosity. See if I can find that shot. It just was a little bit weird to me because like the moon is lit by the sun. It's reflecting sunlight. And there aren't two suns reflecting off of these two different moons. Well, it doesn't matter. It's a cool effect for reasons. Let's take a look at these. Yeah, those are very similar. Yeah, they're actually the same. They're actually the same. It's just that the one on the red one is a little further away and a little bit lighter. So some of the portions, some of the craters, don't really appear. But you can see at the like bottom left corner that blotch is the same blotch, and then there's a little mini blotch coming off of it to the right, and it's the same little mini blotch. Same thing up top. They're the same. Let me pull up a picture of our moon really quick. Moon. Use my cursor. Okay. Blotch, blotch. Blotch, blotch. 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 This thing is just rotated a bit. And this little blotch is essentially this. This big section is this. You see this portion, this little peninsula of blotchiness? It's quite similar to this. So it's the moon, or at least heavily based on the moon, which is fine, and that's cool, and probably why they're both the same, because that was the reference point. It was the moon. Would be nice if they were different, but it doesn't matter. But you can see what I mean, that they're glowing green and glowing red. Perhaps it's supernatural. I can hand wave it, I don't care. Doesn't matter. Just something that I noticed that would be weird. But yeah, the goblins come from the moon, and they come because there's nothing there and it sucks. It's a dry, barren wasteland with no air. Sucks. So they come here because they've got air and food and water and women to rape. Cool. The episode had depth to it. It had character building, it had team building, it had the stuff that I've been craving. And I liked it. I liked it quite a bit. It is a significant improvement for me from my perspective, the way that I'm watching this and what I want from it. Significant improvement. we've got a team and they're all likable, and our characters have become likable. That's the other thing, is like, now that it's not just Goblin Slayer slaying goblins, he plays a role now. He plays the like way too serious guy in the team. And then the others in the team play different roles. The priestess girl is the noob, and she's sort of our character insert. We're looking through her eyes most of the time. The elf girl is like kind of jokey and funny. In like, she's being serious, but it comes across as jokey. And she and the dwarf play off of each other. She's old and wise, but actually quite childish in her mannerisms. The lizard man is the wise sage type. Yes. Yeah, that's what he is. And he's got some flashes of some other stuff when he eats the cheese and is delighted by it. That's a little thing that actually makes quite a big difference in terms of his character. Like, he's not a stoic. He's just calm and actually wise. The dwarf is sort of dwarf. He's a bit I don't know, I guess a little bit crude. Not a lot, but like a little bit crude, and mostly it's him playing off of Elf Girl. Cool. Then the last thing that I wanted to look at, I think, was there anything else that I wanted to look at? Anything else I timestamped? No. So then the last thing that I wanted to look at was the arrow. Oh, the dagger first. It's when they're cutting cheese. Scroll, I think that comes after the cheese. Okay. Makes a shing sound. It looks like it's glass. It looks like it's napped. So I'm going to guess that that's obsidian. Okay. And then her arrow. Look at this thing. Here we go. Perfect. See that? It's like a bud. It's like the bud of a leaf. Her bow is also grown. It does look like it's a different material than the rest of the shaft. But the shaft is also grown. It's not trimmed. They are feathers, not leaves. And she has some sort of insane control over it. We got one frame, so okay, it's after it swoops. There we go. It's pretty close. There's one more frame after this, or a few more frames. There we go. Interesting. Yeah, it's definitely grown. It's definitely wood. Neato. Neato. Little bit of depth there. Her bow is also grown. It's the full branch in that shape. So maybe elves have some kind of control over, elves always have some sort of harmony with nature type vibes going on, but maybe in this universe they have some really special ability to control trees to grow as they please. That would be cool. Be a little cool thing. I think that's about it. We've got some setup for the upcoming Attack the Fortress, and we're going to get to see our whole team working together as a team, and how they work, and how they all fit into the party. What are their roles? What they do. Cool. Goblin Slayer is a warrior type, you know? He's a warrior. He's a fighter. He got sword, shield, armor. Fight. He's got some extra stuff, extra goodies, throwing knives and some other stuff. But sword, shield, armor. He's relatively mobile. He's short-range combatant. Not a damage taker. Dwarf guy, we haven't seen anything of. I assume he's got axes. One of them or two of them. Whatever. I assume he's got axes. He could be anything. But I assume he's also a melee combatant. Lizardman, I am not sure. Despite his imposing frame and his large size, I still think he's some kind of magic wielder of some form. I don't know what that would be. I'm gonna probably not say druid, because druids usually have some kind of spiritual with animals thing, and they don't domesticate animals. So, I don't know, maybe warlock. Maybe warlock or shaman type thing. Yeah, something like that. I think he's something like that. He could just be a fist fighter. I don't know. Priestess is a priestess. She's a healer. Full back line. And the elf is a ranger, archer, or scout, whatever you want to call it. She's a ranger. Uses a bow, is good with it. That covers everybody, right? I think that covers everybody. Interesting. Best so far, in my opinion. Like, we're finally getting rolling on what's really gonna be the story, you know? Finally getting rolling on that. Because episode 1 was just badass blood and guts and rape. Episode 2 was, like, decision to join him by priestess, and a little smidgen of depth for Goblin Slayer himself. More than a little smidgen. There's more than a smidgen. I'll give them that. It was enough to build off of. And I said in that episode, like, they've planted the seed of some character depth for Goblin Slayer. I hope it grows into a character arc for him, and it appears that is exactly what we're going to get, which pleases me greatly. I was worried that I would end up dropping this show after episode 2 or 3. I am no longer worried. I will watch this. I'll watch it, I'll react to it, I'll upload it. You can watch along with me, we can talk about it. Give me in the comments, I read them. Try not to spoil stuff that's, like, further ahead in the manga, but if there's detail that is not present in the anime, but is present in the manga up to this point, hit me with it. I'd love to hear it. Show. Goblin Slayer. Goblin Slayer. Goblin Slayer. It's pretty good. Like, that... The way he says Goblin Slayer, and it's sort of, muffled by his face mask. I mean, they've done a lot of work to make that Goblin Slayer sound so Goblin Slayer. They've put a lot of digital work into that, and also gotten a good voice actor for it.
Goblin Slayer.
Goblin Slayer. Goblin Slayer. Pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty good. It's becoming more of a campaign, more of a classic fantasy adventure story, which is good. There's a reason they're classic fantasy adventure stories. They work. They work. It's not groundbreaking by any means. We got a character who's fucked up in the head and likes killing goblins. We got a bunch of other characters who want to do other stuff. Cool. It's pretty good. 7. That's where I'm at. 7. Episode 1 was a 6. Episode 2 was a 6.5. Now it's a 7. It could keep climbing. It could do it. It's possible. It's plausible. I don't think it's going past 7.5. We'll see. Anyway, this has been Sloblin Glayer. Sloblin Glayer. Episode 3. I hope you've enjoyed it as much or more than I have, and I hope to catch you in the next one, because there will be a next one. Nito. Brave Lord Nito. As before, I'm not gonna put these up on Patreon. I'm just gonna YouTube them. You can have them. Here you go. Alright, hope you've enjoyed it. Hope to catch you in the next one. Peace.